The entire first-class cabin froze when the flight attendant leaned over the black woman in the VIP seat and insisted that she move back to economy. There was no explanation, no apology, only an icy stare, a tight smile, and an unspoken message that her presence in that seat was somehow unacceptable. Passengers tried to act indifferent, yet their eyes never stopped following the scene. Curious and judgmental all at once. Moments earlier, she had been reviewing essential documents for a global leadership conference, where she would serve as the keynote speaker. Now she was being pushed out of the seat she had reserved months in advance. The staff claimed the seat had been assigned to someone more suitable, and when a white businessman appeared beside the aisle with an expectant smirk, the true meaning behind their words became painfully clear. What the crew failed to realize was that this woman was not an ordinary passenger. She was someone who refused to be quietly humiliated or diminished. She was the CEO of the airline's parent company, the very person capable of altering the course of every employee's future. A single decision from her could ripple across the entire corporation. It raised a critical question: what happens when discrimination is directed at the wrong person? Viewers were urged to watch until the end, share where they were watching from, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Dr. Celine Hart was more than accomplished. She symbolized what relentless determination could create despite a life shaped by limited opportunity. Raised by her grandmother in a community where success felt distant, she understood early on that she would always have to push harder than others. Yet intelligence, discipline, and unwavering resilience carried her far past expectations. By 42, she had become one of the youngest CEOs in the global aviation sector. She oversaw multiple airlines, implemented groundbreaking safety innovations, expanded international routes, and advocated for diversity initiatives that transformed thousands of careers. Despite her achievements, she remained aware that many people still failed to see her authority. They saw only her skin. This flight was meant to be routine. She was headed to deliver a keynote address on international leadership. She wore comfortable clothing, blending in effortlessly among other travelers. Her assistant booked her in the airline's exclusive VIP class, offering privacy, comfort, and priority service. Celine boarded with nothing more than a laptop bag and a gentle smile, offering warm greetings to staff without hinting at her position. Her humility was genuine, but not everyone interpreted it that way. Too often, humility becomes mistaken for insignificance. Celine had no idea that within the hour she would face the defining moment of her leadership, one shaped not by boardroom challenges, but by prejudice in a quiet airplane cabin. The tension began subtly. A flight attendant paused at her row, staring at her ticket with a puzzling expression that didn't match the casual tone she attempted to display. The woman's eyes shifted repeatedly between Celine's face and the seat number, as though trying to reconcile something that did not fit her expectations. Another attendant joined her for a whispered exchange. Celine continued reviewing her tablet, maintaining her composure despite sensing the shift in atmosphere. Minutes later, the attendant returned with a smile that lacked sincerity. She examined Celine's ticket again before claiming that her seat had been reassigned. Celine remained calm as she tried to clarify her confirmed reservation. Yet the attendant appeared uninterested. The cabin grew tense as whispers traveled across the aisles. The situation escalated when the supposed new passenger, a tall white businessman, arrived, with the confidence of someone accustomed to receiving preferential treatment. His posture alone revealed his expectation. The seat would be his, and the crew would ensure it. The attendants immediately softened their behavior toward him, further exposing the imbalance. Celine's frustration simmered, but she waited. She needed to understand the depth of the injustice unfolding. After further discussions at the front of the cabin, the flight's lead attendant returned and insisted that Celine move. When she remained seated, the crew threatened to involve security. The cabin responded with a mixture of shock and discomfort, while some watched with a disturbing eagerness. Rather than argue, Celine gathered her belongings with deliberate calm and advised them to contact their corporate office before taking further action. But the staff ignored her suggestion and instead alerted the pilot. Moments later, 2 uniformed airline security officers stepped onto the aircraft, creating a heavy silence. Passengers leaned back, crafting assumptions about the uncooperative traveler who now faced official intervention. The officers approached with rigid authority, prepared to enforce what they believed to be a simple compliance issue. Celine rose slowly, not out of fear but with intention. She asserted that she was resisting discrimination, not airline policy. The attendants reacted with irritation, expecting her to crumble under pressure and validate their assumptions. But everything shifted when one of the officers noticed her ID badge as it slipped partly from her bag. His expression changed instantly. He examined the badge again, comparing the image with the woman standing before him. The realization was undeniable. She was exactly who the badge claimed she was. While the attendants continued their accusations, the officer interrupted with disbelief. The cabin hushed. He clarified loudly that Celine Hart was the CEO of Horizon International, the corporation that owned the very airline they were standing on. The truth cut through the air like a blade. Shock rippled across the cabin. The businessman's arrogance vanished. The attendants turned pale, understanding what they had done. For the first time, they grasped that their discrimination had targeted the one person whose decisions could determine their employment status. Celine said nothing. She simply allowed silence to speak for her. The lead attendant began apologizing frantically. The businessman withdrew, suddenly avoiding any acknowledgement of his involvement. The officers shifted their demeanor entirely, standing protectively near Celine as witnesses rather than enforcers. She calmly reclaimed her seat, restoring order without raising her voice. The rest of the cabin felt the collective tension lift, but the resolution did not unfold in the air. It began the moment she landed. Selena returned to her office and immediately requested every record related to the flight. Video footage, witness statements, crew reports, and passenger accounts. She reviewed everything, not driven by anger, but by a responsibility to ensure the organization upheld the values she stood for. Within a week, the airline issued a formal public apology, mandated company-wide anti-discrimination training, and reassigned several supervisory personnel. The attendants involved were terminated after a thorough investigation revealed a pattern of previous complaints that had gone unresolved until this incident forced accountability. The businessman later sent a lengthy letter attempting to justify his behavior. Celine never replied. Her experience spread across the internet, turning into a global reminder of dignity, courage, and the consequences of unchecked bias. She continued to fly afterward, choosing humility once more. But no one ever questioned her place again. And viewers around the world were left to consider a sobering truth. If discrimination could target someone with immense power, how many unspoken stories belong to those who cannot fight back? Where are you watching from? Please share your country and city. Take care.